I attempted to take the alternator, the alternator off this morning, thinking that it was going to have a rough spot in it. So anyway, I loosened off the bolts and I took the belt off, spun it with my hand, and the pulley is nice and tight with no clicks. Like it felt perfect. So I put the belt back on and snugged it back up and tightened all the bolts. And I started the motor up. And anyway, it ran all right. A couple little chirps came from the alternator, or I believe, but it was um, a lot quieter than it was the last few times, including last year when I had it running a couple times. It just a couple little chirps, and then it quiet right up, and everything's fine. And I put the meter on the battery before I started it, and it was at 1268. And afterwards, when I put the voltage meter on it, when it was running, it was at 1440. So the alternator's charging. Everything was fine. I had it running about maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And then I noticed the temperature gauge was right up to 210. And it's not supposed to, sitting here in that amount of time, it does not get, like, it never gets that hot. So that kind of scared me. So I turned off the key and I went to the radiator and touched it, and the radiator was ice cold. So anyway, then I came back here and I touched that aluminum pipe right there, which comes from the thermostat to the radiator, and I couldn't touch it. It was hot. So that kind of baffled me why that pipe would be hot and the radiator is ice cold and the motor temperature was 210 when this thing usually runs at 185 to 195, and the temperature, the radiator is hot and the fans come on at 195, but at 210, ice cold radiator spooked me. Anyway, I turned it off. Then I dilly-dallied for a little bit, and I start the car up again, and within 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, the radiator was hot, and the temperature never went up over 185. So, and no clicks, no noise coming from the alternator. So I think what happened was the thermostat stuck a little bit and then opened up, or maybe when it opened up, then the gush of cold air closed it back off again. But usually when it goes to 210, it has to be like 100 degrees out, stopped in traffic, is the only time it ever gets that hot. But anyway, the radiator was ice cold, but the last time I had it running, the radiator's warmed up and the heater hose is all hot and the alternator still works. So my stress level just dropped down quite a bit because I was kind of quite concerned. But now I got to jig it up and take that. I got to take this hub off because I got to replace the bearing in here. So I'll have to put some jack stands under it. I got 3 jacks on it right now, but I'll put a couple jack stands on it and tinker with that. Now out here, I found my collection of bolts. But anyway, the original body mount that they used here, they put this in there, and then they used the 1/2-inch rubbers. So, and then anyway, so I was thinking, not much point in building something like that and putting it down with a skinny little rubber. I might as well use these great big hard heavy duty rubbers. So if I cut that off at like 2 inches, that'll fit right on top the frame. So the only thing I need to do is put a plate steel there with a hole drilled through it, and then put this here and cut another chunk for underneath and put a long bolt with a nut. Just put a bolt down through it with a nut. And I have I have a couple pieces of this pipe that fits perfect up through that rubber. So rather than make a time-consuming box, I'm just going to put plate steel on there, weld it in, drill a hole in it, and put that rubber bushing up in through there. Make life a little easier. And I have this, I showed this before, but this is a 1/16 of an inch plate right there. That's what I'll cut it out of and put it on. But that, I've been doing this and that and all kinds of different things in the last couple of days. So it was kind of awkward to make a video of a lot of my activity at the time. But I don't want everybody, I don't want to ignore everybody, so I got to stay in touch. So, but I plan on getting that hub off and get those wheel bearings done and build those mounts as soon as possible. But yeah, this had me scared there for a few minutes, but the second time I started it, it circulated and the radiator heated right up in no time. So I didn't leave it running for half an hour for the fans to turn on, but just the fact that it's circulating and heated up the radiator, I figure things are all right. And these, same as an antique car, you watch the gauges and you don't take anything for granted. You have to keep your eye on every little thing to make sure nothing goes bad. You know, like an everyday car, usually you just drive. But when you have something nice, you have to watch everything and be extra careful. And if anything's going to go wrong, that's where it happens. But anyway, I'll be back with a video on how I make out with these mounts. But I don't see any reason in making a complicated square box underneath and then a little rubber when I can just put that heavy rubber in there right from the start. So that plate steel, I believe, will work just fine. My cat's not around right now. He's fast asleep. He'll be up in another hour or so. But anyway, I'll let you guys go and I'll see you in a little bit. Thank you. Bye.